I'm Chad, and today's video is going to be a bit different from my usuals. Behind me, I have a car. This is a 2019 Audi S5 Sportback. So I rented this car on Turo for the week, and we're going to do a little drive and review, talk about the interior quality and some other things I like about it and dislike. So let's get started. So walking around the car, the S5 Sportback is the sportier version of the A4 and the A5. Basically takes the same swooping roof line that you get with a coupe and adds it to a four-door sedan. So hopping into the car, there's a few things that you notice right off of the bat, just having to do with the materials that the vehicle uses. So we've got some nice carbon fiber trim that wraps all the way around at the dash onto the doors. Really, really nice touch, aesthetic appeal. And then we've got carbon fiber down here as well, running along the center console. In addition to that, we've got nice Alcantara door card inserts on all of the doors in the vehicle, including in the rear seats, and carbon fiber back there as well. So another really nice touch. Even your rear passengers get that. The seats are leather with Alcantara centers. And then the front seats are the nice Audi sport seats, so they hold you very nicely. Of course, we've got the semi-panoramic sunroof, which is a very nice touch as well. Most of the controls are similar to what you find in a normal car. You've got a door handle, you've got locks for the memory seats, you've got your window switches and your mirrors, locks, door handle, window switch. Pretty standard stuff. The air conditioning vents are pretty cool and go pretty wide, but nothing too crazy here. Down in the center console, we've got a bunch of different controls here. Obviously, we have the gear selector. We have this dial that controls the Audi multimedia entertainment. Just taking a quick look at the steering wheel. We've got the nice Audi sport wheel. It's got the flat bottom down here. I really like that a lot. I'm a big guy and it makes it easier for me to get in and out of this car. The steering wheel has a bunch of different buttons on it. All of these buttons are related to your entertainment and everything that goes on this screen, while the buttons on the left here control the nice digital instrument cluster, which, let me go ahead and show you guys that. Bolsters tighten up as the car turns on. So taking a look at the dash, the entire instrument cluster, aside from the fuel gauge and coolant temperature gauge, as well as a couple little lights up here, is digital, which is really awesome because you can switch between two different views. This is the sport view, and within this you can cycle through a few different things. On the left-hand menu, you can check some car data, just about fuel consumption and other bits and bobs. Scoot over to see your Bluetooth connections, have the connection with your mobile device, and then of course the map showing you your GPS and where you're located. So if you want to change this view, you simply click on this view button right here on the steering wheel. Do that real quick. Beautiful. And then you have the map laid out in front of you. Very nice touch. It's pretty wild to look at. Moving over here, we have the Audi MMI or multimedia interface. It's much different. I actually had a 2006 Audi S4, and I'd also had a 2011 Audi A4 Quattro 2.0T. So pretty familiar with the Audi MMI and how it's changed over the years. This is obviously much more advanced than either of my cars were, but we have a few different things in here. Obviously, got your settings, got the smartphone interface, so you can actually connect an iPhone or an Android to this car and have it do the CarPlay feature. We've got Audi Connect, which is Audi's own connection service. It does other web things such as weather, satellite radio, some other things, but requires a premium subscription. Got the map, so you can just see the map, navigation to get you where you need to go, telephone obviously to make calls, media if you have a memory card inserted or a CD, the radio, the sound, and then of course all of your vehicle information within here. So this is actually pretty cool because this car has different drive modes, but you can also customize one of the drive modes. So we have comfort up here, which obviously is going to be the most comfortable, keep the car the quietest, make it ride the smoothest, and just be a more of a luxury car in that sense. Auto, my understanding is it adapts to the way that you are driving. So if you're driving kind of quick, it'll firm up the suspension. If you're using the throttle a lot, it will increase your throttle response, make the engine deliver power more aggressively, and also louden up the exhaust note. Dynamic is basically sport mode, just makes it loud all the time, firms up the suspension, improves your steering feel and response and weight, and throttle response, of course, as well. Then individual is my favorite so far. I've been using this, so if you go click over here, you can actually adjust all of these things independently. So the roads out here on the East Coast are not the best, a lot of potholes and stuff and big bumps, so I have everything in dynamic or sport mode except for suspension. I left that in comfort just because I don't like getting shocked in my spine every time I go over a bump, which is pretty frequently. Overall though, the MMI system is pretty easy to navigate. You have a dial down here. A turn clockwise will make you go clockwise or down if you're on a linear menu. Counterclockwise will make you go back or up. And then you click in if you want to select something. Pretty straightforward. Got a back button here, and then menu that will take you back to the main menu regardless of where you're at. You can also toggle in between different media functions. So if we want to go to media, click that down. Click it up to radio to get the radio. And of course you can click it up here for the nav, as well as down for the telephone. So pretty cool, nice set of features. It's pretty intuitive to use and works very well. So I like it overall. So one gripe that I do have with this car, as far as the interior and entertainment quality goes, you actually have to plug in your phone if you want to do CarPlay. Being that this is a 2019 model year vehicle, I feel like that's pretty ridiculous at this point. I feel like everything should be wireless from here on out. I know my 2020 Sprinter van is completely wireless. It does CarPlay with no physical connection to the device. So that was a little annoying, but I mean, I have a cable because I need to charge my phone and I'm traveling, so it works here, but it would be nice to see that improved. It's got a nice sound. So let's get driving. So before we talk more about the car, I just wanted to give a little bit of additional background. I'm a motorcyclist. I love motorcycles and they're my number one passion for sure. But I love cars too. If it hadn't been for cars, I don't know if I ever would have discovered motorcycles in the first place. So it's just cool that I have an opportunity to make a video like this where I can review a car and, you know, share my thoughts and feedback on it, and take some of the experience that I've gotten from motorcycling as well, like feeling a chassis and power delivery and other characteristics of a vehicle that will, you know, produce a certain experience and feeling to you. I have owned a few cars in the past. For all my subscribers out there that might be wondering why I'm doing a car review, my first car was a 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse, little four-banger with a manual transmission. That was how I learned how to drive stick. That was a good experience for me because my second car was a 2007 Mazda RX-8, which was a stick. And I had all of my more intermediate driving techniques dialed at that point. Trail braking, rev matching my downshifts, heel toe, all those techniques I was able to just bring over into the RX-8 and really get a good experience and just a lot of pleasure out of that car while I owned it. After that, I had a few different cars. I've had a 2013 Mini Cooper S that was a stick shift. I've had a 2011 Audi A4 Quattro 2.0 turbo. And then I had a 2006 Audi S4 actually. After the A4, it got crushed by a tree, which is another crazy story in and of itself. But I had the S4. It was fun, but it was a money pit, so I ended up getting rid of that. And now I've got the Sprinter van. So I've had sports cars or sporty cars for the majority of the time that I've been driving up until recently. So it's nice when I go on a trip like this, I'll splurge a little bit and get a fun car to drive, because I do still really enjoy driving and I do miss it a little bit, but it makes more sense for me right now to just have the bikes and have the Sprinter van so that I can get around to the racetrack and achieve my other goals. So just cruising along here, as you may or may not be able to hear, it's actually pretty quiet. This interior is very well put together in my opinion. It uses some pretty nice materials for the most part. One of the things that I did notice though is that there is still a little bit of cheaper plastic in a couple areas that carries over from the A5, the A4, the lower trim Audis that this car is effectively built on. So like the door trim over here is kind of plastic, and a couple of other areas on the car, but overall it feels very nicely put together. And even like my A4, my S4, both of those cars were pretty old at the time that I had them, and they still felt very solid. And that's something that I really like about German cars, and Audis in particular. Now, I'm a huge Audi fanboy. The R8 is actually my favorite car, and a car that I aspire to own one day. Like a 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, the first generation of the car with a V8 and a 6-speed manual transmission. So always been a fan of the 4 rings. The R8 in Ironman was actually the car that got me into cars, which ultimately got me into motorcycles. So kind of coming full circle with that and Audis, but just absolutely love them. The Audis that I've owned have always been very well built and felt very solid, and the S5 Sportback is no exception to that. So another great touch of luxury within the S5 Sportback is the massaging front seats. On the side of the seats, there are a series of switches and a button, and what those do are activate the massaging seats and also enable you to adjust the intensity and also the way that they massage you. So that's a really cool feature that I think is part of the Prestige package. I could be wrong there, but this car has both the Prestige and one other package. I think it's the Premium, but nice touch for sure. Really, really awesome when you're cruising on the highway and you can just get your back rubbed at the same time. It's pretty cool. I love the way that you sit in this thing. You feel like you're a little bit more towards the center of the car, but in addition to that, the way that the dash and everything just wraps around you, it really makes you feel like you're in a cockpit, like a fighter jet cockpit. It's a really cool feeling, and just looking around the car and the way it's all laid out just makes you feel a little bit more special, I think, just because it is built that way. It's a very premium feeling car. It definitely doesn't feel like an entry-level Audi, and it doesn't sound like one either. No, it does not sound like one, and it goes a lot faster than one too. And that's actually a perfect way to segue into the Powertrain, which I think is definitely one of this car's highlights. So the 2019 Audi S5, S4, and S5 Sportback all use the same 3-liter turbocharged V6 engine, produces a claimed 354 horsepower, and I believe 369 foot-pounds of torque, driven by all 4 wheels via Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system. These cars also all feature an 8-speed automatic transmission. The automatic transmission is shiftable manually, either via the gear selector or paddles on the steering wheel. And I have to say, one of the things that did disappoint me at first in just reading about this car before I rented it was that the newer S4, S5 cars don't use a dual clutch transmission like the B8 and B8.5 Audi S cars did. This is actually an automatic transmission. However, I will say now that I've driven it, that it is incredibly responsive and smooth. Having driven a few cars with dual clutch transmissions, you can tell a little bit it's not quite as sharp and a little bit less smooth, but overall it's still very good and feels very nice. All right, so now that we have some straight road and I need to merge, let's test acceleration. Woo! And not quite as fast as a motorcycle, but that's still pretty fast. That's a fast car. Definitely throws you back in the seat, that's for sure. It's got a lot of torque. I will tell you what, this car feels a lot faster than those numbers suggest. The turbocharger builds boost at a pretty low RPM too. I would say it feels like, or it looks like on the tach, like 1600, 1700, 1800 RPM. So basically, if you're moving and you don't just have the car in drive, chilling in 8th gear or 8th speed, you're in boost. There's a little bit of turbo lag. It's nothing crazy. I've definitely felt worse turbo lag in like my A4 and my brother's GTI, but it is there. But as soon as that turbo spools up, man, does it suck you into the seat. It's crazy. The power band is so broad with this car. Like I'm at like 2400 RPM right now in 6th gear, and it's like, put my foot down and it just picks up and goes. Nice and easy. The S5 Sportback also has fantastic exhaust notes, particularly when you have the engine and exhaust set up in dynamic mode. Go ahead and take a listen from the outside of the car. The car actually rides really well too. I mentioned there are different modes that you can put parts of the car into. It has comfort, auto, and dynamic or sport for pretty much everything that the vehicle does. So I have the suspension in comfort mode, and it feels pretty nice. Some of these bigger potholes and bumps on these roads are a little bit more jarring than I'd like, but it is still a sports car. It's supposed to give you some more feedback and feel for the road through the chassis. So not gonna say that's a bad thing. I mean, I think if anything, that's just kind of a testament to the fact that the roads out here are not of the highest quality. Steering feel is good as well. It's very precise. I could go for a little bit more weight personally. My RX-8 I felt like had the best weighted steering wheel I've ever used. It was a bit heavy, but not too much, and it was electrically assisted, but you didn't really feel like it. You got great feel back through the wheel. And you do too with the S5 Sportback, but it's just a little bit too light for me. So wish there was a little bit more there. And I do actually have the steering in dynamic mode, which is the highest performance steering setting, and it still isn't quite as resistant as I would like it to be, but it feels good overall. And just cruising down the road, this is another thing too that I really love about Audis and most German cars. They're very quiet on the inside. They're very well insulated. So you do get, being that I have the engine in the dynamic setting as well as the engine sound, it does make a decent amount of exhaust noise and intake noise, which I really like and enjoy. But the road noise and things that are going on outside of the car definitely seem a bit distant. You feel a little bit removed from that. And I mean, when you're just cruising down the highway in your $60,000 luxury car and want to sit back and enjoy the ride, that is a nice thing for sure. I've spent a decent amount of time on the highway with this car already, and that's super pleasant to just put it in cruise control and just sit back and relax and make sure you're not going to run into anything. That also plays into my opinion that this is a nice car to just drive whether you're going fast or slow. It's just a good cruiser, but you can also have a lot of fun with it if you do want to go fast and try to get a little bit more out of it. Coming up to a jug handle here, so let's test out how the car's power feels as well as the suspension, chassis, and just overall grip. That felt nice. Going around another jug handle. The seats feel very nice. Something else I forgot to mention is that they are fully adjustable seats, including the bolstering. I mean, I was able to set these up so that my wider body fits nicely within them. So we've got the suspension in dynamic mode now. Let's go around a corner and see how that feels. Ooh. Got some nice pops there from the exhaust. It does sound good. It's not my favorite sound in the world, but it's a good sound. Here we are, going around the corner. Woo! That felt a little bit better. There was definitely a little bit more grip there. got another corner we can go around. Now, I'm sure this car can go a lot faster than I'm pushing it. It's not my car, but just, you know, driving at like a 60, 65% pace, it feels good. Going around a corner, the brakes work nice. The steering, again, is pretty direct. I wish it was a little bit heavier, but you know, I'll take what I can get with a rental car. Yeah, no, definitely better handling than any rental car I've had before. Overall, the car drives really nice. It's funny because I did read some reviews about this car before I decided to rent it, and it sounded like a lot of journalists thought this car didn't really have much of a soul and just felt kind of meh. And I really don't feel that way about it. I feel like this car is a lot of fun to drive, and while I'm a 3 pedals guy, save the manuals, and normally just would balk at an automatic transmission in the car if I was considering buying one, of course. Happy to drive cars with automatics all day long. But if I were buying my own car, ordinarily I would write anything off that doesn't have a manual transmission. But this car is actually really nice. Overall, it's a good car and it puts a smile on my face. I mean, you've been seeing it. It's an enjoyable car to drive, and I think that, you know, the majority of people that would find themselves behind the wheel of one of these would have a great time with it. And it feels nice, it looks gorgeous. Overall, I just think it's a really cool car. Something else I forgot to mention, the fastback styles, like Grand Coupe style roof, you give up a little bit of headroom with the back seats, but the interior of the car is actually still pretty spacious. Just talking from a practicality standpoint, we were able to fit 4 full-size adults in this car, like pretty nonchalant, no fuss. I'm 6'3", and as you can see, like I have a little bit of headroom. I mean, it'd be nice if I had like an extra inch, but I'm comfortable with this. The back seats, you know, I like to sit a little bit closer to the wheel so I have a little bit more control over the car, but able to fit 2 5'10", 5'9" adults behind me and my 6-foot girlfriend. So it's a good compromise between performance and practicality that still provides sports car looks. The trunk space is also quite good. We were able to fit a big suitcase, a big duffel bag, a few backpacks, and some other bags in there. No problem at all. As far as you know, needing a car to transport people, transport stuff, and do it well, this is a great car for that too. It just gives you that extra performance and fun factor that you don't get with the normal car. Overall, the car drives great, makes a lot of power. It's definitely not the fastest car on the road, but it is a lot faster than most of the cars you're gonna come across. The chassis feels very good. You get good feedback through the wheel and just through the seat and everything. It grips nicely. The all-wheel drive system works well, and I could feel a little bit of that rear bias stepping in, coming out of corners. You can also adjust the differential to lock a little bit more by turning it into dynamic mode. So that helps give you traction on exit and keep the car from understeering, which naturally does kind of have a tendency to do that a little bit because it's all-wheel drive and because it's front-engined. But it really feels like you can avoid that almost by just trailing the brakes a little bit further into the corner and making sure that you're smooth on the throttle coming out. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about it. I've never done a car review before, so curious to see if anyone has thoughts or feedback, if this is kind of too far out of bounds from the type of content that I usually produce, or if you guys would like to see more of these. Let me know. Hit the like button, just a gentle little click. No need to smash it or anything aggressive like that. Please consider subscribing and turning notifications on. Check out some of my motorcycle videos as well. I produce some cool content with my 210 V4, my Daytona 675R race bike. And yeah, thanks for watching again. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Later.